Hey, this is Joshua with Cultural Catholic coming at you with another International Wednesday, and I only have time for one quick story. It was recently reported that North Korea and Syria had recently, within the last couple of years or so, done some trade in some stuff that might not be very kosher, for lack of a better term. Years ago, Syria was at the beginning of its civil war. And during that time, they used chemical weapons, and that was denoted as a red line in the sand. That if Assad had crossed that, the Obama administration and the U.S. would do something about it, namely military strikes. Now, Assad reportedly crossed that red line, and instead of fulfilling that promise, which I actually agree with, the United States and Russia made it so that Syria would get rid of all of its chemical weapons. For a while it appeared that that had happened. However, a couple years back, it was reported that chemical weapons had been used by the Assad regime again. Now, this is on top of using barrel bombs and all sorts of other human crimes, crimes against humanity, war crimes-y things that the Assad regime and to an almost equal extent the various rebel groups have been doing in the Syrian civil war. And a lot of people who I agree with and get my news from didn't believe it. And I understand that. I understand why. There's always a reason to have a healthy level of skepticism with this government. I mean, the last time we got involved in something over chemical weapons, we didn't get out until 2011, and then we had to go back almost 3 years later. Yes, I'm talking about Iraq. However, this recent report explains that North Korea sold chemical weapons to the Assad regime. Again, there's always a good reason to have a healthy level of skepticism, especially with who we have in office right now and how he likes to poke North Korea with a stick. So I'm a little skeptical of it. However, I am concerned if this is actually the case, because if this is the case, it would explain why the North Koreans have been able to do so many missile tests. Because doing missile tests, that gets kind of expensive, especially the building and the fueling of those things. So that may explain why the North Koreans over the last couple of years have been able to do that to the extent they've been able to, because normally it's usually either subterranean explosions or one rocket test every few years. So if this is true, that would explain why the timetable for the North Koreans went up, because there had been experts who said they're probably, and I may be getting this wrong, probably 10 years away from something that could reach the United States, or 5 years away, one of those two, somewhere in between there. And then they test a missile that could actually reach the continental United States up to Chicago. I don't know if you know this, but I have lived always west of Chicago. Actually, for a while, I lived near Chicago. So anyway you slice it, even though except for the time I lived near Chicago, I wasn't really in an important city, I would have been affected by that, and I don't like that. Just selfish, not wanting to get blown up in a nuclear explosion. But that would help explain why they advanced as quickly as they did, which is what confused experts at the time. And I'll have links to various articles, a few articles in the description below to kind of, for you guys to look at, to check for yourselves, because I don't want you to just believe me. I like to think I'm credible, but I'm not. I'm just a random dude trying to talk to people. So yeah, that is the International Wednesday video. I will see you tomorrow with a bunch of reviews on New Review. It's Joshua signing off.